Hello again, boys and girls. Well, here we are back again to the next couple of chapters. These two chapters are quite short, so this is a wee bit shorter this time than last time. If you remember, last time the three soldiers had been up chopping wood and Nogger frightened them. They thought he was a monster and they ran, leaving behind their armour and their wood cart that they were meant to be putting wood into. Meanwhile, Mr. Mousey and Mr. Rabbit couldn't think of a way into the city, and they come back again, and now Mr. Mousey's had an idea. So I'm going to read a couple of short chapters now. Chapter 25, Changes. Sergeant Hakk was not very understanding. When three of his soldiers returned without wood, without the cart, without their weapons, without their uniforms, and without one sensible word between the three of them, he went completely berserk. At first he prepared to have them sent to the main barracks in the city for punishment. Soldiers disobeying orders or guilty of some crime or other were given dreadful punishments there, and that thought gave him considerable pleasure. Later it occurred to him that if he did this, questions would be asked. Why did he send a work detail into the forest for wood in summer? Why did he send only 3 when, after the incident with Sergeant Hadim, a minimum of 10 soldiers were meant to be sent into the forest? Also, he realised he himself was at the north gate as a form of punishment, and he didn't want more attention drawn to himself. In the end, he had the 3 thrown into the prison tower and left without food or water in a locked room at the base. 2 or 3 days in the hole will soon get you lot talking some sense, he shouted at them as he had them tossed in. Unfortunately, he was now down 3 gate guards, so he left 1 soldier to guard the tower and took 2 to replace the 3 at the north gate. And if you can't keep 3 idiots and a little foreign girl in there, you'll wish you'd never heard of the name of Sergeant Hakk. Well, the guard had often wished that very thing, and found himself now wishing it all the more. Mr. Mousey had to explain his plan a couple of times to his friends, but as darkness fell, he felt he had made it clear enough. Now it was time to find some cover under some bushes, and after a rough supper, make a bed for the night. Jilana had heard the shouting far below earlier in the day. Normally, the only times the door was opened was to bring her food and water, a single daily visit. What had happened in the base of the tower was a mystery to her. Before she went to bed, she often took a last look out of the window at the stars above and the city lights below. Tonight, as she looked down, she saw only 1 guard. Strange, she thought, and went to bed, pondering the changes. Next chapter is chapter 26, the North Gate. Sergeant Hakk did not like being awakened out of sleep. The soldier tasked with awakening him liked it even less. "What do you mean by coming in here at this unearthly hour, you useless piece of garbage?" were the first words he heard the sergeant say. They weren't nice words, and were made even less nice by the fact they were being said to him. Sorry, sir, but... Sorry? You're sorry? You don't even know the meaning of the word, you brainless idiot. By the time I'm finished with you, you'll... The sergeant was shouting at the top of his voice, and spittle was frothing on his unshaved bristle. The soldier saw he had nothing to lose, so he risked it and interrupted. "It's the forest, sir! They've returned!" Maybe because this made no sense to the crazed sergeant, he stopped shouting, and after a pause spoke in a slow, frighteningly even tone. "They have returned? They? Perhaps you should at least make some attempt to use words that make some kind of sense, soldier. It would be a shame if the last words you were heard to utter were the words of a maniac." It seemed clear to the trembling soldier who the maniac was, but he carried on. "There are 3 soldiers standing outside the gate, sir, and they have the wood cart." The hair on the back of Hack's neck stood up at these words, and he struggled to think of what was happening. "Get out!" he said loudly to the relieved soldier. "I'll get changed and see the gate guard in 5 minutes." 2 minutes later, Sergeant Hakk stood beside 4 soldiers looking out across the clear ground toward the hated forest. About 100 or so yards from the wall, 3 armoured and helmeted figures stood to attention behind the wood cart. None of the 3 moved, and the sight of them just standing there in the morning mist left everyone lost for anything to say. After a while, Hakk cleared his throat. "So, how long have they been there?" The soldiers had first spotted the 3 figures at least an hour earlier, and it had taken this long for one of them to get up the courage to awake the sergeant, but no one was about to admit that. "Just now, sir. The mist hid them at first." "You," said the sergeant, pointing at a soldier nearest to the gate, "go out and escort them back in." His heart sinking, the soldier obeyed and walked out to meet the 3 still figures. In Sergeant Hack's mind, plus the other soldiers, was the question, if those are the men, if they are the detail sent out to collect wood yesterday, then who is it at the bottom of the tower? Worse, if the 3 in the tower are the 3 sent out yesterday, who are they standing out there? Looking out of the tower window, Princess Jilana saw the soldier make his way towards the 3 others. Something was happening. She was sure. There was a change in the atmosphere. One night, not many nights ago, a voice had come to her window again, telling her to be ready. When she had moved towards the window and asked, to be ready for what? Then the dim figure had simply turned and disappeared out of the window. You're to follow me, stammered the soldier, now standing only a few yards from the silent 3. There was no response. "Sergeant Hakk says so," he offered by way of explanation. Nothing. He didn't know what to do, but he was certainly not going to go back to Hakk empty-handed. "I'll take the wood cart," he offered. "You can follow me." Without looking up at the 3 unmoving shapes, he got behind the wood-filled cart and began pushing it towards the gate. If he could have run with it, he would have. "So, what did they say when you said I had ordered them in to come in?" asked an extremely irritated Sergeant Hakk. "Nothing, sir." "You fool! Did you make sure they heard you? Get out there and tell them again." "Sir," spoke up another of the soldiers with an inward smirk, "I'm sure they would come in sharpish, sir, if you were to tell them, sir." The sergeant looked angrily at the speaker and made to say something, but then seemed to change his mind. "I have to stay here and keep you simpletons from all wandering out and losing yourselves in that stupid wood," he spat out. "Leave those 3 out there. A long stand will soon knock a bit of sense into their thick heads. And you," he shouted at the soldier he had told to go out through the gate, "push that stupid cart over at the wood pile and then get out of my sight." Nodding secret thanks to his fellow soldier, the man was glad to obey. So, I wonder what's happening here. Anyway, that's the end of that chapter for now. So, thanks for listening again, boys. That was a shorter couple of chapters. But the next chapter is called Andre, but you'll need to go onto your YouTube channel and go to chapter 27 to read the next chapter. Thanks for listening. You take care. God bless.